Hello beautiful people, it's Sinderfam. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be checking this video together. Let's check it out.
I took it because I had sat one down in the other room, and then I drank some more, and I stayed sitting there and began getting drowsy and started to pass out. And then Sean Combs said to me, I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another.
And he stated that he would make me an offer to end the case and what happened to me because of other things that he stated he has going on in his life that require his money right now, and he wants to sell everything off. And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away.
If his stuff wasn't truthful, why would they entertain it? The judge entertained it, Diddy lawyers them entertain it, and Diddy entertained it. So it may be some truth to it.
So there's a huge story brewing about this guy, Derek Cordello Smith, who's claiming he was raped by Diddy back in the 90s. And this man just scored a major legal win. And believe it or not, Diddy recently took things to a whole new level of shady by visiting Cordello Smith in prison and trying to throw hush money his way to keep things quiet. Yes, you heard that right. Diddy himself showed up in prison with an offer to make all of this disappear. However, Cordello Smith turned him down and decided to share the story about what happened to him at one of Diddy's parties in 1997. Meanwhile, everyone's wondering why this case isn't blowing up in the headlines and why Diddy's alleged male victims are staying so silent. But let's be real. If you remember how social media reacted when the first rumors about Diddy targeting male rappers and singers started swirling, it's not hard to figure out why. Instead of taking the allegations seriously, fans and even other celebs turned it into a joke with all those
Exactly. And people did not believe because it was Diddy.
turned it into a joke with all those no Diddy memes, totally losing their minds over the possibility that their favorite rapper might be gay. Apparently, in the eyes of some people, that's way worse than being a grapist. So what's the deal with this man who's claiming Diddy raped him? And how did he manage to block Diddy from selling off his properties? Trust me, this is one story that's only going to get bigger. So let's break it down.
And then Sean Combs said to me, I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another. I then passed out.
Wow.
Cordello Smith claims that when he woke up, Combs admitted he him when he was unconscious. Cordello Smith claims that he left, he never went back. He alleges he filed a police report, but couldn't talk about what happened to him. He says therapy in prison helped him realize that he was a victim of
Diddy's victim wins in court. So one of Diddy's alleged victims just scored a big win in court, but for some reason, mainstream media is crickets on this one. Only
Like, really? My question is, why? Why exactly? Because this is something that happened really long time ago, not today. And all of the things that Diddy is being accused of are not recent. Majority are from dealings or things in the past. Imagine how many more people are there. What?
reason, mainstream media is crickets on this one. Only Law and Crime Network decided to spill the details on this bombshell, so let me break it down for you. From behind bars, a man named Derek Lee Cordello Smith just managed to stop Sean Diddy Combs from selling any of his mansions or major real estate assets. Yep. You heard that right. A judge actually ruled in Cordello Smith's favor, laying down a huge decision that keeps Diddy, his lawyers, realtors, and anyone else from offloading his properties. Here's the scoop. Diddy and his legal team recently took a little trip to visit Cordello Smith in jail, where they tried to slide him a $2.3 million settlement offer. The reason? Well, turns out Cordello Smith claims that Diddy spiked his drink and graped him at one of his parties back in 1997 when they were supposed to be discussing a record deal. And that's why Diddy recently made a trip to jail to offer Cordello Smith a massive payout, hoping to keep him from suing for rape. This meeting went down in the Detention Visitor Center, and yes, it was recorded. Now, the attorneys who were there are basically witnesses to what some are calling Diddy's confession, and even with attorney-client privilege in play, that recorded conversation is standing strong as evidence.
The purpose of it is based on two actions taken by Mr. Combs himself, directly with me here. We did a live one-on-one visit in our prison visiting room. there's 2 meetings within the past 2 weeks with Mr. Combs on one meeting, and then a financial advisor on the other meeting on Mr. Combs' behalf. And he stated that he would make me an offer to end the case and what happened to me because of other things that he stated he has going on in his life that require his money right now, and he wants to sell everything off. And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away. And he stated that he's going to be selling his property, and under the 2005 California Civil Code 2881-2885, the creation of liens, which allows out-of-state justices and orders to cause a stop of any title transfer, property transfers in Los Angeles or any other place that he has property. He stated that he wouldn't be able to proceed with that sale, and he did it the day after I served him the suit. And he also said that he won't be filing an answer to the complaint. He said, you can find me in default or whatever. He has a better chance with default than he would with having a restraining order stopped. And I said, so you want to hide you want to hide your money and stop from being quite possibly paid to me if I'm given the benefit of a judgment in my favor for what you've done to me? And he pretty much said, yeah. He goes, you know how we get down.
By the way, how insane is it that after all the dirt that's come out about Diddy, and with all those serious lawsuits piling up, he actually had the nerve to roll up to jail and meet with Cardelo Smith in person? And
Like, you get the question here is how many more or how many people are there that this must have happened to? And we're not even just talking about Diddy. We're talking about other people in the said entertainment industry.
then he had the audacity to tell him, "You know how we get down?" The sheer audacity of Diddy to go there in person and try to silence the man accusing him of rape, especially when Diddy already has a list of victims suing him that's longer than the list of his #1 hits. This is beyond insane. This whole thing really shines a light on how Diddy's been able to get away with so much over the years, because who else would be bold enough to do something this reckless after he had 2 of his homes raided by Homeland Security? It's clear Diddy still thinks he's untouchable, and it really makes you wonder what kind of mindset does it take to be so brave. I mean, at this point, only a certified psychopath would be this shameless. Either that or he's protected by someone very powerful. What's equally insane is that no one is talking about this. When you Google Cardelo Smith Diddy, there's literally nothing besides the Law and Crime Network report. All the other lawsuits against Diddy were extensively covered in the media, and yet for some reason, everyone is ignoring Cardelo Smith, even though he scored a major legal victory. So Cardelo Smith asked a Michigan judge to slap a restraining order on Diddy, stopping him from selling any properties that were meant for the settlement.
If he's allowed to sell his property that he has in LA and the properties that are in his name being used and held by other people in Michigan, then it will cause me harm because I can be tied directly to those properties through loans and through other areas of investment that I did when I was out there and while in prison through money that I've sent. And if he's allowed to go through with any of the sales, I won't be able to recoup any of my monies or anything from him as a result of any possible judgment in this action, if he's allowed to proceed with it. And an injunction or a restraining order would help ensure that he's not manipulating and selling the property to avoid his responsibility in these matters here. That's what a temporary restraining order would do. It would prevent that from happening. Because it's a very serious matter. It involves a lot of money, and him selling this would help him avoid his liability.
Now let's talk about this complaint that Cardelo Smith filed against Diddy, where he detailed the alleged grape. Cardelo Smith describes grape. So according to the complaint, Cardello Smith claims that back in 1997, he was a bartender at a Detroit restaurant and got invited to a party at the Holiday Inn where Diddy was hanging out. According to Smith, he was super excited to go because back then everyone wanted to get an invite to a Diddy party.
Yeah.
So Cardello Smith joined in on the fun, drinking with Diddy, the ladies, and some security guys. He described Diddy as being surprisingly cool, like a regular decent guy. But then things took a very dark turn. Smith alleges that he ended up participating in group intercourse with some women and Diddy. But when Diddy started showing interest in him, he immediately got up out of there and went to sit on a couch. Smith's complaint then details how he went to grab another drink when Diddy offered him one, insisting he drink it. Thinking it was just another glass of whiskey, Smith took it. But after drinking it, he started feeling drowsy and began passing out. That's when Diddy allegedly told him that he had added a little something to it and that he'd get what he wanted one way or another.
He told it, okay.
Then went to get another drink, and Sean asked me if I needed something else. I said no, and he said, here, drink this one. And I thought it was another glass of Jim Beam, so I took it because I had sat one down in the other room, and then I drank some more. And I stayed sitting there and began getting drowsy and started to pass out. And then Sean Combs said to me, I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another. I then passed out.
The fact that he said this, oh my goodness. The question here is how many more, not just men, women, boys and girls, how many more are like Diddy out there? You serious?
Cardello Smith says he blacked out and later woke up to Diddy admitting that he had graped him while he was unconscious. After that, Smith claims he left and never returned. He says he filed a police report but couldn't bring himself to talk about what happened. It was only through therapy in prison that he came to realize he was a victim of grape. But that's not all. He also alleges that Diddy paid off the Detroit and Monroe police officers to keep the whole thing under wraps, and they did a pretty good job of it until now.
And he goes on to claim that Combs paid off police to keep the whole thing quiet. Quote, the defendant paid Detroit and Monroe police officers to keep it hidden, and they hid it very, very well, and have kept it hidden for many decades, but not anymore.
So fast forward to today, and Cardello Smith is suing Diddy for a whopping $100 million. So after Cardello Smith filed his lawsuit, Diddy and his associates paid him a visit at the Michigan prison to offer him $2.3 million to withdraw the lawsuit.
But wait, so keeping this hidden, imagine how many more have not been brought to light. How many more victims are out there, dead or alive, or couldn't even talk.
Around this time, news broke that Diddy listed his Los Angeles property for sale, the same property that got raided back in March by Homeland Security. Cardello Smith took serious issue with this, and in a motion for a temporary restraining order, he argued that the sale was an attempt to deprive him of any monetary judgment he might win if the case went to trial. And the judge actually sided with Cardello Smith, granting the injunction and putting a 90-day hold on Diddy's property sale. But Cardello Smith didn't stop there. He also pushed for a default judgment against Diddy, claiming Diddy hadn't filed a legal response to the summons. The judge let him know what his next steps should be, so we'll see where this case goes from here. In the meantime, the only public figure to comment on this situation with Derek Cardello Smith is Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal. Gene talked about this case during his latest appearance on The Art of Dialogue. However, the way Gene turned it into a joke and actually laughed while talking about what happened to Cardello Smith back in '97 didn't sit right with fans, and they called out Gene for disrespecting male victims of grape.
Derek Lee claims that in 1997, Diddy raped him. I know it. He raped a grown-ass man. Yeah, he was a bartender. He said, and I don't want people to think that I think that's funny, but the shit is funny. He said it's sad. He said that he was invited to a party and it was girls there, it was guys there. Things got freaky. You understand? He's a bartender. He said that he was drinking Jim Beam and Diddy brought him a drink over. And then Diddy told him, I put a little something extra in there. And he said, I'm sorry, man. He said,
But the thing is, this is the problem. Many people don't believe male victims and don't believe men could be raped, which is a sad thing. But really, it is sad, and men do experience this thing. Worst of all, that a man does it to another man. It is not even cute, and this is not even recent.
he woke up butt naked with his thong gone. No, he didn't say, no, he didn't say that, bro. But he said he woke up and Diddy told him he had him. He said he went, he filed a report, but they threw it up under the cops swept it up under the rug and everything like that. So he was suing Diddy and everything like that. So he said that Diddy came to the jail and said that, hey, I'll give you $2.3 million or something like that, or 23. I don't know if it's 2.3 or $23 million to make this go away. We'll leave this alone the whole 9 yards. Just like I just said, he's trying to pay people off to make things go away, for them to drop their suits and everything like that. You know what I mean? And if he does that, they civil suit. Drop them, make them go away. What would it take? So this particular dude said that Diddy was trying to sell properties and sell things and stop him from getting his money, and I didn't understand that. But the judge found some validity in what he was saying and said, yo, I'm gonna give you a 90-day restraining order against him from selling anything until you get all your paperwork in correct, because Diddy was served in the whole 9 yards. And as it was said that Diddy and his representative did come to the jail. So if the guy didn't have no lawsuit, if the guy wasn't, if his stuff wasn't truthful, why would they entertain it? The judge entertain it, Diddy lawyers them entertain it, and Diddy entertain.
Now fans were quick to call out Gene for laughing while talking about a man getting raped, with some saying that his reaction explains why he got hired by Diddy in the first place and stuck around for so long. One fan commented, "This situation ain't funny. Do y'all know how many of our brothers, uncles, friends have been assaulted?" And another person added, "After hearing him laugh at that makes me think he just laughed whenever he saw Diddy do messed up stuff. That is why he worked with him for so long." So can we talk about how Diddy's alleged victims, who happen to be male, are getting mocked? And it's mostly other men mocking them. Because every time a story popped up about a male rapper potentially being Diddy's victim, people on social media would lose their minds over that rapper possibly being gay instead of focusing on the actual criminal allegations.
Exactly.
Male victims and homophobia. There are now several men who have accused Diddy of spiking their drinks and forcing himself on them while they were unconscious. And yeah, all anyone can seem to talk about is whether Diddy's alleged victims, preyed upon by a man who clearly had too much power and not enough self-control, might be gay. I mean, priorities, right? When producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed his explosive lawsuit against Diddy back in February, he named several high-profile celebrities he allegedly saw at Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. And while some names were redacted, we didn't have to guess who Lil Rod was hinting at when he mentioned a Grammy Award-winning R&B singer with a history of run-ins with the law after assaulting a certain Bajan billionaire. Or the Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Or the part where Lil Rod said Diddy bragged about having relations with a Super Bowl halftime performer who had a successful Vegas residency. Now, if this last person is Usher, and it's pretty obvious Lil Rod was alluding to him, then we're talking about the same man who lived with Diddy when he was just 13 years old, and who was most likely exposed to some depraved stuff at a young age. So if these allegations about Diddy and Usher hold any water, this is no different than the R. Kelly Aaliyah situation. And yet, all people seem to want to talk about is about Usher possibly being on the DL. Now, while Usher stayed silent on the allegations, Meek Mill was doing the absolute most on X after Lil Rod's lawsuit was revealed, and his tweets have been so erratic that people were saying the rumors might actually be true. But instead of taking this situation seriously, the internet started dragging Meek for possibly being gay, which, according to them, is apparently the worst crime you could commit in hip-hop. Also, why is everyone more pressed about Meek Mill possibly being gay than the fact that he might be out here putting his hands on women? Remember when Nicki Minaj dropped those not-so-subtle hints about Meek getting physical with women? Nicki shared a post on her story saying, "You a clown, you do it for the likes. Twitter fingers beat women, scared of men." And then, Meek's former associate came through with the receipts, saying he saw Meek spit on Nicki and leave her stranded in the middle of nowhere.
They arguing real bad. They get to calling each other all kinds of crazy names. This corny dude starts spitting on. I said, yo, you crazy. I told him right then and there, you lost your mind. Man, that nigga put her out in the woods. We was all the way out Jersey somewhere in the woods. Nigga put her out the house. It's dark and shit. I had to go out there and get her. She cried right here. Am I lying?
This celebrity's lifestyle is really, really messy. And to think this is what they're trying to normalize in the real world does not even make sense. Seriously. But let's even talk about this, because many men have been assaulted or many men have been raped one way or the other, and people joke about it. People don't even take it serious. That is what even alarms me. Seriously. Why? Why don't people think it is, or think that it can happen to men, or think it is possible that men could be raped?
Right here. Am I lying, Nikki? Ask Meek's sister. She was there, and her baby father. He was there too. Am I lying, y'all? His mom was there. His mom, yo, I ain't lying.
But what happened next? Crickets. The internet barely blinked, and the whole thing got swept under the rug. And yet, when rumors started swirling that Meek might have hooked up with Diddy and could be gay, everyone lost their minds, and the outrage was on a whole different level. Even the way Meek reacted to these allegations made it pretty clear where his priorities lie. He seemed way more stressed about the possibility of being outed as gay than about any of the other serious accusations he's faced before. A bunch of his posts on X gave off the same vibe. He was absolutely furious that his reputation was getting dragged through the mud because of these rumors about his sexuality. He even went on about how this was all some scheme to expose who's trying to kill the black image of the most influential artists. Now, can we talk 50 Cent for a minute? People have been praising him for speaking out against Diddy and claiming he's been trying to warn us for years. But let's be real for a second. 50's whole vibe seems more about pushing his own agenda than actually helping victims. I mean, let's not forget 50's history of turning male victims into the punchline of his gay jokes. Remember when Terry Crews spoke out about being groped by a male Hollywood executive, Adam Bennett, at a party? Terry explained that he didn't report it immediately because he was worried about facing backlash, and the reason he didn't react with violence was because he knew what was at stake.
Then, in 2016, while at a party with my wife, I was actually assaulted by a successful Hollywood agent.
Imagine.
The assault lasted only minutes, but what he was effectively telling me while he held my genitals in his hand was that he held the power, that he was in control. You know, the first reaction was to be violent. And I immediately held back.
Why weren't you? You're a big, powerful man. Why didn't you?
Senator, as a black man in America,
Say it as it is. I think it's important.
you only have a few shots at success. You only have a few chances to make yourself a viable member of the community. I'm from Flint, Michigan. I have seen many, many young black men who were provoked into violence, and they were in prison, or they were killed, and they're not here. My wife, for years, prepared me. She said, if you ever get goaded, if you ever get prodded, if you ever have anyone try to try to push you into any kind of situation, don't do it. Don't be violent. And she trained me. I'll be honest with you. It was the strength of my wife who trained me and told me, if this situation happens, let's leave. And the training worked.
But has there been retaliation against you for what you are saying now to the public?
Thank you for your question, Senator. One specific incident of retaliation was I've done 3 movies called The Expendables with Sylvester Stallone. The producer of that film called my manager and asked him to drop my case in order for me to be in the 4th installment of the movie. And if I didn't, there would be trouble.
At that time, Adam Bennett was heading up the motion picture department at the talent agency William Morris Endeavor. And while they did conduct an internal investigation, in the end, they chalked it up as an isolated incident and Bennett was back at work after just a...
You see how lots of people did not believe, because, I mean, it is Terry Crews. It is grown. How many more are there? Whether grown or young adult or child, how many more are there? Like, I can't even imagine that people would not even believe that some people can be assaulted, be raped, regardless whether they're male or female, because there are some people that think they hold the power so they can do whatever they want to do to people in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, in their whatever, just because they have the power, they can. And worst of all, if it is a man coming to talk about his experience, people would not believe him. Because, I mean, you're a man. How is it possible that someone would do this to you? Why don't nobody believe it when a man says it? Or when a man talks about his experience or shares his experience? I'll tell you, because they don't want to believe that men too can be victims.
Incident, and Bennett was back at work after just a 1-month suspension. In response, Terry Crews filed a lawsuit against Adam Bennett and WME for sexual assault, but WME fired back, saying they handled Terry's claims swiftly and seriously, and they didn't see the need to drag things out any further. In March 2018, prosecutors decided not to press any charges against Adam Bennett. The attorney's office pointed out that the statute of limitations had expired since the incident happened in February 2016, and Terry Crews didn't report it until November 2017. Terry later suggested that his case was really thrown out because Adam Bennett had connections with the LAPD, serving as the event chairman of the LAPD Foundation. But it's not surprising that Terry didn't report the incident right away, because when he finally did, a lot of people, including fellow male celebs, made fun of him, saying he couldn't be a victim because he's bigger and stronger than the man who touched him without his consent. Take DL Hughley, for example. He said he couldn't believe that Terry, with all those muscles, couldn't say no.
I think it's hard for me to think that a dude with all those muscles can't tell an agent to not touch his ass.
His ass or his dick?
Whatever.
Whatever he touched.
I just do. I don't understand.
And then Russell Simmons, the man who has been accused of despicable crimes and allegedly escaped to Bali to avoid prosecution, had the audacity to personally email Terry and tell him he should give Adam Bennett a pass. But Terry Crews refused to let these creeps silence him and shared a screenshot of the email he received from Russell, where Russell wrote, "Did he ever apologize? Give the agent a pass. Ask that he be reinstated. With great love, all things are possible." However, Terry clapped back saying, "Dear Uncle Russ, no one gets a pass." And that's when 50 Cent chimed in with more ignorant comments and shared an inappropriate meme, referencing Terry saying he froze in fear after being touched. 50 wrote in the caption, "LOL, what is going on out here, man? Terry, I froze in fear. They would have had to take me to jail. Get the strap." and Russell Simmons jumped in the comments and left a laughing emoji. However, Terry once again had a classy response to all these weird comments. Ha tagged 50 Cent, Russell Simmons, and producer Tariq Nasheed, who also made fun of him, and wrote, "You decided my essay was hilarious, whereas there is a whole generation of black women and men who don't think it's funny. There's protected, but they mock survivors as well. When you see me, keep it moving." Now remember when Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy first hit the fan? The amount of people who rushed to dismiss her was unreal. All we heard was, well, she was his girlfriend and just wants some money. She knew what she was getting into. As if that somehow makes it okay. And then, to top it off, Diddy had the audacity to put out a statement denying everything, claiming he did not do any of the awful things being alleged. And of course, his lawyer was quick to back him up, saying Cassie was just lying and trying to score a quick payday. But we all know what happened next. Diddy got exposed in 4K after that horrific hotel security camera footage surfaced. In the meantime, the narrative started shifting online. But instead of focusing on the real issue, people latched onto the idea that Diddy might be doing these things to men too. And what did the internet do? They turned it into a joke. Memes started popping up everywhere with that whole "no Diddy" joke. And then these male victims suddenly stopped being seen as actual victims. Nobody was talking about them as survivors or vulnerable individuals who've been through some serious trauma. Instead, it all becomes about picking apart the idea of homosexuality and turning it into something depraved. So yeah, this whole Diddy situation has really exposed some major blind spots and prejudices that we desperately need to talk about. Because let's be real, if you're out here making jokes and memes about DV and SA victims, whether they're male or female, then you have no right to ask, why didn't they speak up sooner? One fan said, "No, the way men handled the Meek Diddy situation pissed me off. It would have been the perfect time for other male artists, influencers to start the conversation and advocate for men's mental health and victims. But no, y'all just said, haha, that man's gay." And another person wrote, "What's crazy is that dudes are constantly on here saying no one cares about male rape victims. And when they finally had an opportunity to care about male rape victims, they made it into a joke about him being gay. That no Diddy-ish was insanely corny." But let's hear your thoughts on how Diddy's alleged male victims were dismissed and made fun of. Do you think it speaks to a larger issue within hip-hop? Leave your comments down below and then check out this next video.
Because giving a pass and excusing the behavior does not even make sense. So it is okay that men can be assaulted or can be raped, whatever, because they are men. Or okay, they should test their muscles as men. Does that even make sense? If somebody touches you inappropriately because you're a man, you should test your muscles. And you then let them come out to say, oh, because they've got the power, they can do whatever they want to do. That makes it okay because you are a man. Like, make it make sense. And the next thing, they switch to the G word, to being gay. Why do people just brush off things when it happens to men, like men's experience, and wonder why men don't come out to talk about it? Because obviously nobody would believe it, or people would not believe it, because obviously you're a man. It don't make sense. I think people should start taking lots of these things seriously, because it can happen to a woman, it can happen to a man, it can happen to young adults, young children, young kids. Men are no exception. It don't make it okay. And the fact that people make fun of it like, oh, it's nobody's business, or because it's got muscles, really? Seriously? Now, this is crazy. And this is the exact same question. How many more are there in the industry? How many more have they done this to? And for those people who make fun of this, you're also an enabler to this type of behavior. It's just sad, but it's the reality, because obviously, why would you think that a man cannot, or it's not possible for a man to also be raped or be assaulted or be touched inappropriately? If you think that, you're also an enabler. I'm so sorry, but that's the truth. Well, let me know what you think about this so far. I'm sure tons of people have interesting things to share. I would really love to share that. Can share the useful information I think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all of the stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.